Hello, ma'am Tanvi. Hello, ma'am. Are you there? Please let everyone in. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Uh, Rehan, has everyone joined or they are still coming in the loop?
Sir, I think so.
Tanvi,
Some people
Rehan,
are facing problem.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah, sir.
Facing problem like as with mine. I was also trying to log in from past 5 minutes, but then I was not letting in. So maybe I we can take that benefit of doubt. That okay then maybe 9:10 we'll start and we'll see if people are joining.
Sure, sir.
And what what about Mr. Rupam Banerjee, sir? Has he joined?
Sir, we asked him to join. I just
Okay,
text her.
okay, okay, okay. Please. Meanwhile, others will also keep joining. I think sir has joined with this, Mr. Rupam Banerjee, sir. Hello, sir. Very good evening. Welcome to our platform that is Legal Research and Analysis. I think that we have more than 35 participants who have joined, but then we are expecting more 10, 15 interns to join. So please excuse us for maybe another 5 minutes and then we'll probably start this session.
Sure,
Will it
Pranav.
work for you?
Take your time. Yeah, take your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Tanvi, are you able to accept all the invitations which are coming in? And are the students still facing any problem? Could you please update me on it?
No, sir, everyone has joined it.
Everyone is joined? Very
Yes, sir.
nice. Very nice. Then I think that we are good to start with it. Uh, Rehan, can we do that?
Sure, sir. Please
Okay,
start.
great. Just a second. So, welcome back, everyone, all the interns, to this particular session. I hope that in the group you all have would have been briefed about today's session. So it's on the right to work and education. Uh, as you all know about me, but then just to give a clarity to Rupam Banerjee, sir. Sir, my name is Pranav Jha. I am the founder, CEO of this particular website. Now we cannot call it as a website since we have changed it into a limited company, and with our effort we have also turned it into a startup uh, recognized by the government of India. So I think this was just an idea to maybe keep us trace of what we are doing all together. So now, guys, just to welcome our Honorable Mr. Rupam Banerjee, sir, just to give a brief idea about maybe how esteemed he is to us and how important today's session is going to be. Just to give a background of our guest for today's session. So he is also one of the founder of Amicus Curie, and with the diverse experience, I particularly feel that in aviation law, intellectual property matters, he has a good interest on it. And Mr. Banerjee has made some very remarkable contributions in the legal industries of India, and to give a trace of his background, he has also been a successful court competitor, and a debate, showcases his legal acumen and dedication to the field. Additionally, Mr. Banerjee's commitment to mentoring and shaping the future of the legal profession in India, it is evident through his works. To maybe give a mind map of it, more than around 2,000 law students and more than 80 plus law schools has been in he has actually taken care of in those zones also. So I think that we all are very much honored to have Mr. Rupam Banerjee with us today, and we are also looking forward to give some very good insights about the legal industries. And like as I told you, that today we are going to deal on the right to work in education, which is primarily a very one of those very important aspect as far as human rights internships are concerned, or the subject matter is concerned. So I feel that he is a one of those domain expert who can actually give a such insight which can always help you in the longer journey wherever you are writing, because you have to have a conceptual clarity about it. Not then only you can have a viable approach towards your legal acumen. With this, I think that today's session has to be taken by Rupam sir. So let this stage be his, and we are really honored with your. I believe that Rehan had given, or maybe my team has approached you, and you have given a very impromptu response, and in a very limited time you have spared this much. So we are very honored, sir. Thank you so much. Now the stage is yours. Please take over and please brief our interns about the very concept of right to work and education. And I hope that after his session, there will be n number of questions will be coming in. So it would be very generous of you interns to ask those questions maybe after he completes his session at the end, or if sir requires, like it's his discretion to maybe he can also answer in the between of your conversation. Now it's up to you, sir, to take up this particular session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pranav. I hope I am audible and visible both.
Yes, sir. You, sir. You are.
Yeah. Thank you, Pranav, for this wonderful introduction of mine. Really glad to get the invitation from your team, and I must say that the team of LR is doing such wonderful initiative on the aspects of human rights. It's truly a great initiative that been run by you and your team. And thank you for inviting me to speak on this particular topic. Keeping in current situation is one of the vital topics to be addressed for, I must say. Though I'm not a seasoned speaker, but I'll try my best to put forward the constitution provisions that our government have, or the legislation, if there is a provision been given by our government on this particular aspect of right to life, right to education, and right to work. So I'll be dealing with in a very crisp and a very easy language for the interns to understand about what this act all about, what is the history of coming behind this act, and what this act deals about, and how you can help the underprivileged society to I guess all of the students or the participants are from law background, so definitely through legal aid or other perspective, how you people can help the underserved society in your own power. So coming to the topic, I'll firstly discuss about the right to work, basically. So, if we see the phrase right to work, if we go back to the history from where this right to work came from. So, if we see that right to work, this particular phrase was coined by French socialist leader Louis Blanc during the time of the social turmoil after the World War happened, and there was rising unemployment across the world. And in the wake of 1846, there was a financial crisis arising across the countries, which led to the French Revolution later on. So at that particular time, right to work, this phrase come up. And with the passing of the time, this right has gained an importance as one of the human rights, as it is important for the fulfillment of the basic necessities of our life. Because to maintain a basic necessity of life, you need shelter, you need food, you need good healthcare, and all this comes with a right to work. You earn, you work, you earn, and with that earnings, you can fulfill these things. And if we see the provision of UDHRC as well, that is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, there under, I guess, Article 21, subsection 1, recognize the right to work and states everyone has the right to work and free choice of employment to just favorable condition of work and protection against the unemployment as well. So, and if you see, there are certain silent features that this right to work gives. So there are around four certain silent features to work for. So if you see, the first is equal pay for equal work. Lately in India, we see that men and women both are being paid equally. But previously, if we see, if we compare like 10, 15 years back, we might see in the top MNCs as well that if the women were working in the same designation, she was paid less, and the men working in same designation was paid more. But after this right to work and all these amendments been made, including the recent labor law amendment that has come forward, this particular thing has been taken care of. So there is now equal pay for equal work, and if you are in the same designation and the pay is less, if there is a discrepancy in the pay, you have every right to claim equal compensation for that. Second is the right to an adequate standard of living. So yeah, it is very essential, as I said, for every individual to access of food, clothing, shelter, the basic necessities basically of life to maintain a decent standard of living. And right to work can help you in achieving this goal. So you see, you cannot earn money from illegal or prohibited sources of income. So if you want to earn money from legitimate source of income, you have to have a right to work, so that provided by the respective state government, so that and it is obviously covered in the DPSP. I'll be coming in further points. Secondly, the labor laws, as I said, plays a major role. There are unions been formed, the rights of laborers have been taken care of, that they're given a fair treatment and protection from any kind of exploitation. Again, this is one of the silent feature of this law. Again, a fair remuneration. You know, there is a concept called Basic Wages Act. So this has been a controversy that what should be the basic wages. If you see, there are certain schemes in government of India been introduced, like the Menrega scheme and the other schemes as such. So there are a basic minimum standard set for the particular people working under that this should be the basic pay that you should achieve per day. If you're working, this should be the basic pay. So again, a fair remuneration should be there. It shouldn't be like you are working for 10 hours, 12 hours of time, and you are paid very, very less as compared to the work that you are giving in. So again, these are certain silent features, I might say, that should be kept in mind while coming into this act. Now coming to the Indian perspective, like the Indian Constitution, if I say, So the Indian Constitution does not explicitly recognize the right to work as a fundamental right. It is mostly been placed in Part 4 of the Constitution of India. Part 4 is DPSP, basically the Directive Principle of State Policy, and it has been given, the right to work has been given under Article 41 of the Constitution of India, which hence make this unenforceable in the court of law. But if we see that despite the absence of express wording, the right to work in Part 3 that constitute the fundamental rights of Constitution, it become a fundamental right through judicial interpretation in different cases. You know, uh, it was not included, but yeah, again, the Honorable Supreme Court and the Honorable High Courts, in due course of time, in different judgment, have interpreted right to work as one of the fundamental right, and it has been interpreted under Article 21, which has a very wider interpretation. And I'll give you an example of a landmark judgment of Honorable Supreme Court, of Olega Tellis and others versus the Bombay Municipal Corporation, where right to work was recognized as a fundamental right inherent to the right to life, basically. Like, right to work was recognized in the list of supplementary and complementary characteristic of fundamental rights and DPSP, both in respect to each other. But right to life must include right to work, as it has already been explained above, as for the judicial interpretation, I might say. The DPSP, on the other hand, provides the states responsible to ensure that all the citizens have the right of an adequate means of livelihood. Keeping in mind the non-enforceable natures of the DPSP, the court held that DPSP reflects the violation of the state, and thus possible steps should be taken. So it's basically the state should ensure its citizen the the right to work. Basically, the state himself should uh, provide employment opportunity not only in the government sector but also encourage the private sector participation to come in, so that the people residing in the respective states can get ample amount of work opportunities. So it comes as one of the duty of the states, and that is why we have seen many times when the elections used to happen every now and then, one of the major issues been raised as that what is the what are this government doing, or what is this plan to do regarding the employment, how many employment that they're promising, and what is the condition of the employment. So yeah, so if I have to derive in one word, that right to work is an outcome of harmonious interpretation of both the fundamental rights and directive principle of state policies. So if I decode the Supreme Court ruling of Olega Telly's case, the right to work is violated. Like, I'll give you certain examples by decoding it. Like when a person is doing a job, like when a person is terminated from his job against the terms of his employment. For instance, if we see the Charan Singh case, if a permanent employee is terminated from his job without a reasonable cause, it amounts to the violation of the right to work. The company, whichever company he or she might be working, they cannot terminate people just like that. There must be a valuable, reasonable things that they need to keep in mind. You cannot just terminate any of the employee at any point of time giving vague excuses. The work, the act that you're doing should have a reasonable thing in it. So when a person is terminated from his job in violations of the already laid down central state or laws, then he is responsible for that. The company executive is responsible for that. Again, when a person is excluded from being employed based on unfair and unreasonable classification, when a person is deprived of his livelihood in violation to just and fair procedure established by law, as was the case on Oligopoly versus Bombay Municipal Corporations. But yeah, it is important to note that voluntary unemployment, like if a people is not willing to be get employed, they are voluntarily getting unemployed, and they're not working to they're not up for working anywhere, or unemployment due to lacks of jobs or lacks of skills, shall not amount to violations of right to work. So these are exceptions. Like again, all the rights that we have, be it the fundamental rights or any other rights that is given in the constitution, all the rights comes with a reasonable restrictions by the government. So if you see the restrictions of that, if you're voluntarily, if you want to stay unemployed, then you cannot claim your right to work. If there is a lack of jobs, there are situation happening due to COVID and everything. There was losses, so there are lacks of jobs. Again, you cannot claim right to work at that point of time. Or if you're not skilled enough, suppose if you're working for an IT company, and if you doesn't know all the software, all the coding that is necessary for doing that, then you cannot claim I should be getting enrolled in the work field. That is not done because you're not skilled. if we see the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights, both of which were acceded by India in Article 23 and Article 8, respectively, to recognize the right to work in an employment of one choice, and the state responsibility is to safeguard the rights. And then, if I might come to the government initiatives that the Indian government have taken, the Indian government specifically have made several acts keeping in mind on right to work. Basically, I'll read out certain acts, like which are the acts that benefits the citizens of the country to think. So basically, there are several laws, acts, amendments that have been made. The Factories Act is there. The Industrial Employment Act is there. As I said, the Minimum Wages Act is also there. Payment of Wages Act, Industrial Dispute Act. Then there is Employee Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provident Act as well. Payment of Gratuity Act, Payment of Bonus Act, Maternity Benefit have been recently enforced, so that the women employees can get benefit out of it during their maternity period. There is Workmen Compensation Act, there are Equal Remuneration Acts. So there are several acts over the due course of time that the government of India, through its legislative ways, have implemented and make sure that the workplace is more healthier and more competitive, so that it favors the laborer or the employees working in it, so that they have the right in different ways and different manners, and they are not exploited by their employer. So there are several rights, as I've read out some of the acts through it. There's several rights given to the employees, and if anything is, if any of the employer is violating any of the rights of the employee, then they can file a suit under these many acts that are given. Again, the government launches various schemes from time to time to ensure that citizens are not deprived of their right to work and have adequate means of livelihood. And India is currently, I guess, has the largest population. So obviously, it's not possible for the government of India alone to provide employment for all, but it is trying to provide maximum number of employment, and at least if not permanent employment, then a temporary employment. At least we're working for 100 days, 200 days. A very good scheme that the government of India have launched back in February 2005, the Manrega scheme. The full form of the Manrega is the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which gives people living in the rural areas of the country to work at least for 100 days in the 100 days guaranteed waged employment in a financial year, so that every adult member of a family can at least get employed for at least 100 days in a year. So this is one of the I guess game changer plan that has been introduced by the government of India to uh, to tackle with the issue of unemployment that was been there in the country, even that point of time and even now. And we see large every year this Manrega scheme has been allocated thousands of crores of rupees in its budget, so that people living in the rural areas have something to do, something to work apart from the thing. Like they're working 100 days, they're constructing roads, they're constructing bridges, or any other things, and the rest of the days they can involve themselves in the agricultural activities, and even from that they can generate income. So it is one of the initiatives that the government of India has taken to make sure that maximum number of employment opportunity, if not permanent, at least temporary for a certain period of time. At a minimum wages act has been fixed that this is the number of like 250 or 300 is the rupees per day you get it if you're working. Then there is another yojana called Sampurna Gramin Rozgar Yojana, and the primary objective of this scheme is to generate wage employment and is to open to all educated unemployed youth of urban and rural areas who is in need of employment. So if the youth is educated, skillful, but he is unemployed, then they can enroll through this scheme. There are another scheme called National Rural Livelihood Missions. It was again launched by the government of India, I guess, back in 2011. This scheme tries to provide jobs with regular income to rural poor on monthly basis. There are a lot of schemes. Recently it's Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. There are Johar Rozgar Yojana, employment assurance schemes, and a number of schemes that have been uh, given, that have been taken care of, that have been taken in every election. We see the whichever government comes in, they comes in and they have something of their own they create their schemes and to make sure that they tackle the issue of unemployment in whatever possible ways that they can. So again, these are some of the schemes that the government have created. But yeah, if I, if you were to ask me, again, there is a lack in everything. Like, I say there is a lack of willingness in the administrative body itself to implement it at the last point of thing. The central government raising funds, the state governments are not using it. There are a lot of clash between the state government and the central government in case it has opposite political parties, and how it is not getting influenced. There are several things, uh, that comes in with the conflicting governments. But that is a criticism of this act, you might say. What my point of view is that, but if you might say that there should be more transparency in implementing this particular, all these yojnas or all these acts that are there. And the employees working at a tier 2, tier 3, or even in the rural areas, they're working in the manufacturing unit, they doesn't know about their rights, they doesn't know what are the schemes that the government have. So I guess the government should focus more on educating people at the last level. Because what I believe, what the government can do, they're already doing. They have all kind of acts, they have all kind of schemes that are covering every every aspect, every sphere that an employee need. But what now is required is educating the employees about the schemes that are there, and how they can get that legal help or the help of the union. Many times we see, like, the union itself doesn't know about the rules and regulations. They are not updated by itself, because all these acts have been updated regularly. Whenever a new government comes in, most of these acts have been updated regularly, but the union doesn't know the updated act. So even that union need to be educated, so that it can provide the proper implementations of the schemes and acts, so that at the end of the day, the employees working at the ground grassroots level can get benefited. So this is what I believe, that this is something that the government of India have for right to work as of now. And before coming to the second topic, uh, right to education, if there are any further questions on this particular topic, you can write in the chat box, or you can unmute. I'd be happy to answer it. And otherwise, I'll move forward with the right to education part as well.
I think anybody has any question, they can put in the chat box, as Rupam sir has stated. If not, then we can move to right to education.
We'll wait for 2 minutes and then we can move on.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Uh, Meanwhile, they're typing something on the chat box. If I am permitted to ask some questions related to right work, please allow me.
Yes,
Uh,
Pranav.
yeah, like as far as the schemes and the policies of the government of India is concerned regarding maybe encouraging right to work and healthy environment, for that matter, there are some also as far as the COVID-19 aspect is concerned. Like there were a lot of things which came in between, like which also was an eye opener. For that matter, the concept of retrenchment, like the companies were going through heavy loss, and they couldn't entertain their employees, and the number of HRs or maybe the human resource were there, but they could not actually feed their maybe requirements. So they had to go through the process of retrenchment. Now, how do you balance between the his right to employment or right to work? Though this is not a fundamental right, but then it comes under DPSP, and as you stated that even the Supreme Court has under Article 21 given a purview of it. So how do you strike a balance between the the problem which the company is also facing through, but then you have to also have a counter reply to how to save the the loss of the people which are facing. If you could answer this,
R-
please.
Right, Pranab. That where the exception comes in, and that where the companies uses the law, because whatever laws that the government is making, there are some loopholes, and the councils representing those big companies, I might say, they're finding all these loopholes only. As I said, that lack of employment is one of the exceptions, proper, because we cannot find that India is a population of what I guess 130 billion. So you cannot provide employment opportunity to all those things. So that is one of the major issues, that you are having such a vast and such a wide population. So tackling all this population and employing all of those is a very difficult task for the government. Though the government in several schemes, I've seen the government requesting, if you see the recent news after the COVID-19, the government of different state as well as the union government requesting the companies, if you're having some loans, or if you're something, we are extending the deadline of the loans, you don't have to give insurance for that amount of time. So this is what government is doing. They're giving the relaxation to the companies to pay whatever they owe to the banks or something, or delayed, so that they at least don't uh, you know retrench the employees, so that the unemployment doesn't rises. Or they're providing more loans. If you see, after the COVID-19, government have initiated several schemes in MSME sector, so that it can give boost. And the government are also requesting, if you're not able to pay the full salary to the employees, at least pay 50% of the salary, so that your perspective is also fulfilled and the employee perspective is also fulfilled. So I believe the government in this way are taking some measures to at least tackle the problem.
Yes, I think you have fairly justified the concept, because government is doing a number of activities to maybe encourage the participation of the workers. For that matter, like my example, I as an entrepreneur wanted to have some or collect some funds. So government of India has a seed fund, right,
Right.
under the Startup India program, where you can get a fund 20 lakh, and you do not have to return it back to the government. Then if you want further 50 lakh for that matter, then you have to maybe take it as in a form of loan, but then also the interest rate is very less. So I think that government has been doing good initiatives to maybe take care of the newcomers for that matter. So I think that you are right at a point that government of India is actually doing something, as it had been at times where not good results were coming in.
You're
We
right.
have a question in the chat box. If you could answer it, so I'm reading it for you. Ishad Ali says that, sir, in your opinion, do you think it's high time to categorize right to work in fundamental right instead of DPSP, and as it would change the way the state or the companies in general approach? Thank you, sir.
Right, it's a
So,
very important question, I might say.
uh,
Uh,
yes, yes.
though the right to work is not explicitly mentioned under the fundamental rights, but it is mentioned in the DPSP. But if you see, if you're going in the court of law, if you're approaching the High Court or the Supreme Court or any other constitutional courts, they're not interpreting it under DPSP. They are considering it under the fundamental right itself. So there, Article 21 is a very, it's a wide aspect. So they're considering under Article 21. So it's come under right to life itself. Because I'll give you a very basic example. For right to life, you need to have the basic amenities for you to survive. That is proper health care. You need a proper shelter, work, everything. So you cannot earn money, because all these things you need for food, for shelter, for healthcare. You need money, and you cannot earn money through prohibited professions, okay, or through illegal means. You need to earn money through legal ways or legal means. So for that, right to work is necessary. So yeah, if you see the interpretations, it's not high time, but yeah, I guess the court has already thought in that particular way, though it's not mentioned in the constitution. But if you're approaching the court for right to work, the court definitely consider this as one of the fundamental rights of one person, depending on the case, and they consider this under Article 21. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Ishad, are you okay with the answer? I believe yes. If yes, then oh, he says yes. So the second question, probably the last question of this particular thing, Subhendu is asking that, sir, what are some reasons why people may still lack knowledge about the government policies or the schemes, despite of availability of numerous apps and online platforms providing such information? So basically, he's asking about the awareness. Why still there is lack of awareness amongst the people concerned? Yes, sir.
Right, Subhendu. I don't know from where do you, where is your hometown or where are you attending this event. You might sit in a metro city enjoying a great Wi-Fi connection and listening to me and Pranab. But if you same time, if you see, if you're if you see in the northeast, if you see the terrains of Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Uttarakhand, Himachal, a very small village, you wouldn't find proper electricity connections. But they're also employees. They're also working under someone. So it becomes very difficult for anyone to if you even just see your grandparents and something, they are not so very much. Um, they cannot operate the mobile phone, then doesn't know about these apps or informations. So I believe the local government, the councillors, the panchayat system, the municipal bodies of the respective cities, panchayat villages, they should take the initiative and empower uh, the villagers or the citizens of the particular city. That is the only way that at least we can implement these particular policies and things in the grassroots levels. Because they, if they're doesn't having the yeah, does removing an employee time of frustration, no, it doesn't. Okay, I'll come to that point. Yeah, but yeah, again, so see, so basically you cannot expect that person to be so tech friendly or tech handy with the using of laptops, mobile, and with this all app, because they're not so educated at that particular point of time. So yeah, I guess through panchayats, through the local authorities, they can go house to house, or they can call a meeting, and they can then explain, "Ki, see, these are the schemes that we as the government are providing you, and this is the ways we can go." I'll give a very basic example. Recently, West Bengal government have introduced a scheme of called Duare Sarkar. It means the government at your own doorsteps. So, if the government is going doorsteps, then this scheme has been lauded by different international bodies as well. If the government is getting to doorstep of every villages, every household in the state, then what did the scheme do? Is that they come to your home, or they then tell ki these are the schemes available. Are your family eligible? If your family is eligible under any of the schemes, then they give you that scheme of the government, so that every family in the particular state is been can get the beneficiary of any of the state schemes. So like this way, the other states or maybe the union government can think of something creative where they can reach out to every to door to empower the particular citizens. Yeah, I hope that answers.
Yes, sir. I believe yes. Is it okay, Subendu? So with this, we would take the last questions maybe in the chat box. So maybe you had read it earlier. So it's on the recession. He says that recession is a period when when the business of a country is generally unsuccessful, and when which leads to huge number of unemployment. So his question is: does removing an employee at a time of recession violates his right to work? Maybe it's the same question which I asked you earlier about retrenchment. So how did
Yeah,
you
it,
answer to
it
it?
it doesn't violate the right to work, because again, I told,
Right,
like, while you are removing an employee, if you're giving a reasonable reason, then you cannot file a suit against that organizers, the organizations, basically. And recession is a worldwide situation, where it cannot be, you cannot think
right,
that is something man-made or that is something this. So yeah, you
right,
cannot that recessions, if during the recessions, if you're removed, or if you're retrench the employee, it doesn't violate the right to work. Yeah.
right, sir. And the question is from Sakshi, that she says that is right to work anti-union.
Anti-union as in, can you please
Even I
clarify
did
more?
not get this question. Sakshi, could you please unmute and ask the question? Maybe I also couldn't get the clarity of your question. Sakshi, are you able to hear us? Anybody who's writing in the chat box, make sure that you at least write something which have a sense of clarity. Do not leave it at a doubt, even with the moderator who is not able to get it on a clear state. But then, if Sakshi, if you're not willing to maybe unmute yourself and seek a clarity, better do it at the end of the session. So let's move to the next maybe topic, that is right to education. So could you please throw some lights on it?
Right. Thank you. So yeah, this Right to Education Act, this act, as titled, the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act. It was, I guess, passed by the Parliament in August 2009, and the act came into force in 2010. And with coming into force, India became one among the 135 countries where education is a fundamental right of every child, and it has been included in the Constitution as the 86th Constitutional Amendment. Uh, it's inserted as Article 21A in the Indian Constitution, which states that the state shall provide free and compulsory education to all the children from 6 to 14 years in such a manner as the state may by law determine. It depends from state to state, definitely. And as for this right, the right to education, as for this act, this right to education was made a fundamental right and removed from the list of directive principle of state policy. So this, I'll just Right to Education Act, I'll quote it as RTE in a short form. So this RTE is a consequential legislation advised under the 86th Amendment. And if you read what this Article 21A says, it incorporates the word free in its title. And what does it free means? Like, if you're not admitting, if you're the parents of a child, if you're not admitting your child under any of the private institution, then if you're admitting him or her under any of the government or the public institution, then you do not have to pay any fees, right from the admissions to the education that has been provided till the degree he or she gets in. So the government created free education only for the purpose of, we have seen after this world war happening, the child labor has been increasing day by day worldwide. And we see children of age 6 years, 7 years, 5 years, 8 years are working in factories, are doing hazardous works, and due to which they're having a different medical problem. Even their parents are having medical problem, and it goes on. And to make sure that the child labor is restricted and the children doesn't go to, the main problem was that the financial economy was unstable. They're not earning more after the war, so every family members was working. But to make sure that education is a very, very prior and a very, very must for every citizen, at least the basic education should be must. And that is the only reason that the state have incorporated that from at least 6 to 14 years they should get the basic elementary education, so that they know how to write, they know how to sign, or they know exactly what their rights are. And that is the only reason that the state have made this particular thing completely free. I know this act made it obligatory on the part of the government to ensure admissions, attendance, and completion of elementary education, as I said, by all the children falling under the age bracket from 6 to 14 years. And essentially, that act ensures free elementary education to all the children in the economically weaker section of the society. This act doesn't, differentiate among caste, creed. We are from higher caste, I am from lower caste, so I would not be provided with the free education. Everyone, anyone who comes in from any caste, any creed, they can come to the government school, they can get their children admitted. That's the thing. To ensure this education particular perspective, the government have initiated later on midday meal system. So if you see, there are several states where the government school midday meal system was initiated, and they provided, the children which are the major aspect of bringing this midday meal system was that to make sure that more and more children from the rural and the backward areas of the country comes into the local schools, and they can get admitted and they can learn something out of it. And restricting those children to going out and working with the parents in the hazardous factories and industries. And if they get better education, they might get better jobs. There are a lot of skill center opened under the government of India and different states government. They're training the people, they're training the children free of cost in different training center as well. So this RTE, this have certain provisions. The particular act gives certain provisions. I'll read out some of the provision. I'll explain it to you all. The right to free and compulsory education is to children until they complete their elementary education in school in their local area is a particular provision. Then if you see, there's another provision that the act made it clear that compulsory education implies that it is an obligation on the part of the government to ensure that admission, attendance, and completion of the government to ensure the admission, attendance, and completion of the elementary education of children between the age 6 to 14. Again, the word free indicates that no charge is payable by the child, which may be prevent him or her from completing such education. So when you are getting admitted your child to a particular government school, the school is making sure that the particular child maintain a certain percentage of attendance to eligible to sit for the exam. Just because it makes sure that the children comes to school regularly. Because if you aren't coming to schools regularly, you are not getting the knowledge that the faculties are giving in. So you're not getting educated. We cannot just come to school one or twice a month. So there are several things that the government is trying to take in to make sure that the children from the rural areas come to school regularly. They should attend all the classes. They should stay till the end. Again, so there are several provision in the act that have been given. Again, that the act provides for admission of non-educated child to a class of his or his appropriate age. So as it said, 6 to 14. So suppose you are 7 years or 8 years old and you didn't get the prior elementary education, you can come when you are 8 years and get admitted to the school to respective class as well. So this is again a provision, a very good provision, I might say, and at the same time a controversial one as well, because he has not done his earlier classes, but still at least a good to go provision for people at least not doing anything to at least having some basic educations, I might say. Second, it mentions the duties of the respective governments and the local authorities and the parents of the child as well in ensuring the education of a child. It also specified sharing the financial burden between the central and the state governments. So again, it has certain provisions with respect to the local authorities maintaining the basic standard of education. Um, it shouldn't be like maintaining a proper teacher student ratio, the subject, the degree that they're getting, what is the value of the degree. And again, all these things are free, so it is coming out of you and my taxes. So the central government or the state government shares the financial burden among themselves. A 60-40 ratio is the thing, the 60% the state government and 40% the central government pays for the midday meal purposes, for make sure for the salaries of the teacher, for other infrastructure. We have seen recently in Delhi, the schools are so high class, the schools have been so modernized in Delhi recently, and it is having smart classes, it is having latest laptops, latest computers working in. So all this cost comes from the state and the central government both. So yeah, they uh, share the financial burden among themselves. Again, another provision is that as I already said, it specifies standards, norms, and the people teacher ratio, the infrastructure, the building, the working days of the school, everything. As I already mentioned, these are certain provisions been mentioned under this particular act. Now this act has certain significance as well. With the passing of the Right to Education Act, India has moved to its rights-based approach towards implementing education for all. This act cast a legal obligation on the state and the central government to execute the fundamental rights of a child as per Article 21A of the Constitution. Now, certain significance are that the act lays down specific standard for the student-teacher ratio, which is very important, as I already said, in the concept of providing quality education. You cannot have 100 students sitting in a class and one teacher, uh, making you understand a particular subject. It is very difficult for the teacher to at least go and make understand 100 people. So appropriate teachers are recruited. The number of teachers, they see that we have 200 students. So what should be the number of teacher student ratio? So it's again a significance of this act. The government provides a provision in it, and the school authority sees and recruit and tells the government, "Ki, see, our school needs this many teachers this particular year." So the government then takes out a vacancy notification. The teachers then get employed through examinations conducted by different states. Secondly, it also talks about providing separate toilet facilities for girls and boys, having adequate standard of classroom conditions, then proper drinking water facilities should be available. Again, basic facilities need to be available in the schools. You need to have proper toilets for both boys and girls. You need to have proper classroom conditions. There should be proper table, chairs, blackboard or smart board, whatever you think, proper drinking facilities, and to promote the other co-curricular activities like sports and other thing. You need to have these fields and everything. So that need to be take care of it. Thirdly, the stress on avoiding the urban-rural imbalance in teacher posting. It's important, as there is a big gap in the quality and the number of and the numbers regarding education in the villages compared to the urban areas in the country. Fourthly, the act provides zero tolerance against harassments and discriminations of children. The provision of screening procedures for admissions ensure that there will be no discrimination of children on the basis of caste, religion, gender. As I already mentioned in my previous speeches, then doesn't matter you are coming from which background, which family background, you what is the stature of your caste, creed, religion. You know, all these are negligible. They doesn't see it. Just to promote free and quality education, you can come and you can get admitted yourself, and it will provide everything. Again, another very important aspect of this particular significance of this act is that till class 8 this act prohibits someone to detain. Okay, so in the grade manner. So till class 8, this act gives a provision till class 8 you cannot fail anyone. You have to make sure you're passing everyone, so that the basic education has been provided. So again, this is a controversial topic for my perspective, but again, but this is what it is been given in the act. And suppose right to free education, if the family is a well-being family, if they can afford the private education, then but they're coming from a backward society, then this act also have provision for those those sectors of people as well. So this act mandates uh, all the private school to reserve 25% of the seats for children from socially disadvantaged and economically backward sections. So this move is intended to boost the social inclusion and pave the way for a more just and equal country. So this is something that the act really deal about. So this is all about right to education that I wanted to tell. I'd love to have some questions answered.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that you have fairly dealt about all other essential aspects, which from which right to education can be dispersed in a very equitable manner, and what are the loopholes, and how about we can approach and things like that. I think that there are some questions related to it. Maybe some questions are related to some previous topic you have dealt on right to work. Maybe Sakshi has tried to re-type it. So if you would like to
Yeah.
answer on it. So she was asking about the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation, who actually work for the safeguard of the people's right to work. But nowadays, they work for the political agenda. Okay, this is some political question. And don't you think that these unions are anti-unions?
Okay,
Okay, sir, would
Sakshi.
you answer it or?
I'll answer it in a very limited way, but yeah, I'd love to answer it. See, all these unions that we have some political affiliations. If you visit any of the manufacturing unit, be it public, be it private, um, you would see that you have political unions of every political party who have their present in their respective state. One you'd find a local political party union, the other two or three you find the union political unions. So yeah, but the workers can choose which political union they want to be a part of. So that is completely their choice, and we're a secular country, we cannot restrict ourselves. But yeah, those unions cannot be called as anti-unions, because at the end of the day, the main work, apart from the political affiliation that they're doing, is for the benefit of the employees as well. They're fighting for the rights of the employee in case they're infringed by any of the rights by their employer. So at the end of the day, if we see, be it any political institution, if they're at least doing justice to the employee, I don't think they're doing anything anti-union. Yeah.
Right, sir. Thank you so much. Now we have some questions. Maybe they have raised their hands, so they would be willing to ask it by unmuting them. So,
Right.
Ankita Chauhan, could you please unmute yourself and ask your query, if any? Ankita, do you hear us? Please unmute yourself and ask the question you are wanting to. Sir, is my voice clear? Am I audible?
Yes, you are clear. Yeah.
I think there is a problem from my end. Okay, there is a question added by Rehan. He says that according to Aniza's question, some people are under the same umbrella force their children to work, and they defend this thing as a skill of learning, undermining the primary education in the state's responsibility and the basic right. So basically, he's also trying to comment on the loophole. Like most of the people who are not economically sound, they treat their children as their helping hands, and they do not want them to go to school because they feel as if they would not get enough support from them if they go to the school. I think, yeah, this is also one of the mindset which is going or maybe prevalent in the those weaker section of the society who are actually not very much aware of the, how good or how futuristic can be an education, or how important that role can play in any child, or how he can maybe earn a lot what he's expecting to earn it in a daily wage thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to comment on it, Rupam sir?
Yeah, exactly, Pranav. What you have told basically, education is the limelight to a better future, I might say. It's the particular local authority responsibility to make sure that if there is any kind of child labor happening in his or her territory, then they should look upon it. As I already said, the main loophole that the government have beat any political party, you see over these years, 75 years have been passed, is that implementation of any particular scheme in the grassroots level. That is the main loophole of every laws. It doesn't, everyone compares India with the US laws, Europe laws, but what I believe, India has sufficient laws to prevent all these things happening in the country. The only thing that India lacks is that implementations of all these schemes and all these laws in the grassroots level. As soon as we do it, it would be like all good. There is no bad in it. So again, to educate the parents is one of the major important things. Coming to the questions, the local authorities should prevent this kind of activities, and they should take all these steps that is necessary to stop this practice. And they should make sure they understand the parents, that in case your child goes to school, he or she might have a better future, and whatever earning he is doing, he can earn 10 times more than if he's getting a proper education. And you need not to be worried about the fees or something. It is the government who is providing. Recent times, I've seen some of the state governments have taken several initiatives where not only the basic primary education but also the college education is also being given free to the students. So again, the states are amending laws, amending initiatives everywhere. So yeah, the states are doing the responsible things, and other states should follow in the coming days. So not only basic primary education, but also the college education is nowadays free in many of the states for girls and boys both. So yeah, that is something. I hope that answers your question, Rian.
I hope Anisa is maybe okay with that answer. Now, the another question is from Sujit Kumar Singh. He says that, sir, don't you think the pattern of education should be changed? Or he's saying that instead of rote learning, the and producing it in a exam, it should be job oriented and shall be providing skills for surviving in society. How do you answer to
Definitely,
that, sir?
definitely, Sujit. Uh, this, the question that you have asked, basically, that is one of the basic objective of the new education policy that has been introduced. Okay. If you see the new education policy, the UGC have made several amendments, basically in the college education or the university education that you get. So the school level doesn't changes much, but once you are in college, a lot of things have changed in UGC. If you see the new education policy of the government been included, the foreign universities setting up in India. We have seen recently some of the reputed foreign university coming to Mumbai for setting up their universities. I guess I don't recollect the name, but there is some Australian university who is the first one to actually take this policy, take use of this policy of government of India to set up an Indian campus. So right now, if you like, definitely in 5 years coming time, if you want to study in Oxford or if you want to study in Harvard, you need not to go to UK or someone. You can study in your country only. It will not only help you to save money, it will also help you to gather certifications from those recognized universities. And again, those certifications will not only help you to land jobs in India, but also in abroad. Along with that, there are several other things. Now you can do simultaneous PhDs. There are several. If you're a law student, then there are several LLM been introduced while you are working as well. So again, there is all of these changes have been done in the new education policy. If you go through this particular act, you can actually understand that the government is working on this particular way, and they're actually uh, trying to provide the skill set which would be job oriented and not a rattamaru thing. Keep us examined. Yeah, I hope that answers.
I think it was very fairly justified because even after you, I was about to come on a new education policy 2020 because it has made a drastic change which we were aspiring to. Maybe in the education policy also 1986, if I'm not wrong, the same pattern was aspiring to. But in 2020, they have, in a multifaceted way, covered a lot of aspect which will take some time in implementing, but then we
Correct.
can hope for a good future as far as educational aspect is concerned. And even in the current budget, the fund which has been specifically allocated to education is also maybe
Encouraged. Yeah.
not exactly six, yeah, but then it is in a range of higher, on a higher side. So I think that we can see the change, or we can see the drive of change which is falling through. So basically, it's not going to be the roadmap or learning that has. So it's action oriented, and implementation will be seen in coming future.
Right.
Sir, last question. Maybe it's the time to take a final call. So the last question is asked from Sheher Ronak. He says that, sir, how can public-private partnership be utilized to bridge the resource gap and improve the infrastructure and quality of education in India? It's a very nice question, maybe. Sure.
Yes, sir. A very, very nice question, basically. But again, the government is working on that particular thing as well. But again, this is a controversial one. But if we give in lease the schools to run the private organization, they won't do it for free. The private organization are meant for profit, so they would charge some basic amount. Okay, but if they are charging some basic amount in the government school, then the whole act, the Right to Education Act, is been compromised because it has been made on the fundamental topic of providing free education. So yeah, so that won't be possible if they're doing with the help of the private education. But what the private players can do is that they can set up private institution, and they can provide certain percentage of their seats to the socially backward people at a very, very lower rate, or in free, whatever is the thing. And or if not free, then the government can sponsor certain percentage of the education. So suppose if a private institution is having 100 seats, then 25 seats can be reserved for the socially backward people, and the government can sponsor some amount of it, 50% of the fees of the students, and 50% can be paid by the people coming from that particular society. Like this way, you can get a private education with the help of the government. And I guess some governments in the respective states are working on that particular aspects as well. So that can be done. Yeah.
I think that has been fairly justified. Uh, I think a similar question is being asked by Sadaf Jalil. Sadaf, I believe we had answered this query, but then I should not leave a benefit of doubt in your point. He's asking a similar question related to the awareness of the parents, which we were talking about, that they are not willing to. Maybe I should reiterate his question. He's saying that, sir, despite government's effort to provide education to even the underprivileged section of the society, there are some people whose children work with them and they don't want their children to send them to school. For example, beggars have their children involved with them. How can we deal with it?
Well, Sadap, as I've already told, the main loophole that the government is lacking is the implementation of these schemes in the grassroots level. Be it the beggars, or be it the people from the other unprivileged section of the society, that is their mindset, because they are not earning financially very more. So they doesn't know कि they would be able to eat, अगर सुबह खा लिया तो रात को खाने के लिए कुछ होगा कि नहीं, they doesn't know it. So that's why they want doesn't matter what the age of the children. At least if it's 4 5 years old, then they take us the children with them for work in their household or in the factories or everything. But that is what is not meant to be done to the children. So at a very vulnerable age, if you're not 18, if you're working in a hazardous environment, and I don't think this factories which are having their units in tier 3 tier 4 cities are taking care of the proper precautions that they need to take while taking their children, or the employees working on those hazardous environment. They doesn't take proper precautions. But there is another issue. But the local government should step up to actually address this particular issue. They should stop been doing that, and for changing the mindset, it cannot be done overnight. You cannot expect a parent of those particular society to change overnight कि नहीं कल से तो बच्चे स्कूल में जाएगा, है ना? So that is not done. That would take time, but again, the more steadily it happens, the more it good for us in the society. But again, the main loophole that I'm already talking about, the government it doesn't matter your state government or the union government making excellent laws on stopping or preventing child labors. If it is not implemented at the grassroots level, they need to have a eye on what is being implemented. Until and unless this particular problem that you've asked would exist in India, I don't know for how many more years.
Right, sir. I'm really sorry I have taken we have exceeded the time we had given to you. Maybe with this last question, probably we are going to end
Right.
this. I felt this is an important question to take in. That's why I'm reading it before you. So this question is about the raising the parameter of the education. For that matter, we had a bar of 6 to 14 years of age of free and compulsory education. But Shupriya has a question to ask that in Article 21A of our Indian Constitution, which gives free and compulsory education to children for the age that is 6 to 14 years. But then India has also signed a UN charter which clearly states that there should be a free education and it should be made compulsory from the bar of 0 to 18 years old. So her question is that do you think that Indian law does not include 0 to 6 and 15 to 18 years under the right to education? And what's your view on it?
Or definitely, what is her name? Supraja. Yeah. Well, I am not completely aware of the UN charter that you're talking about, but yeah, that is again a loophole that the Indian government doesn't look at it. Uh, but if you ask my perspective, my view on that particular point, then I believe, 14 years is how much? Class 8. I guess till class 8, the education has been done. What I believe ki, if not 18, then it should be at least 16. And if not, 6, it should be at least from 2 or 3. This is should be done because, if you see all the government jobs that have been notified by the different governments, they said that you at least need to have a matric certifications. So the people who are getting this basic and free education doesn't have this matric certification. So that is again, harming them to get a proper job in the government sector or be it in other private sector. Though they're very low paid job, but the basic necessity is a matric certifications or at least a class 10 degree. So if not till 18, but at least till matriculation, I guess the government is working. But as I said in my speech, that some state governments are because see, this particular right to education previously was a state factor, and then it has been included under the fundamental right after passing of the act of the 86 constitutional amendment. So but again, it has been given the power has been given to the state to modify this act and according to their understanding. So some of the state governments in India, they are increasing the age. They are providing the free education, as I said, not only till 18 but till 24, till the college educations and even masters somewhere. So yeah, some governments are definitely doing it, but again, it's a discretion of the government how far they can do it. Because if I see the GDP of every government is not supportive. If Delhi government can afford a free education for their children till 23 or 24 or even 18, you cannot compare a state government of Meghalaya or Tripura to again amend their thing to 1824, because their GDP they won't able to afford that thing. So a basic of 0 to 6, 6 to 14 has been given so that every state have that capacity to implement it. Because at the end of the day, the state government is uh, bearing the cost of this education, the infrastructure and everything. You cannot put a children ki कहीं पे भी चले जाओ, कहीं पे भी school है. You need to have proper infrastructure. You are giving salaries to the teacher. They are well qualified. They're all the teachers have been recruited through different exam conducted by different state level. So all this takes a lot of cost. So again, those states which can at least afford, they can start doing it. And but I guess till matriculations, I guess every state should do it. That is my perspective, basically. If you said, yeah, I hope that answers.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that I was getting another set of questions, but then I think that we have exceeded the time. Maybe it's more than 1 hour, 1 hour, 18 minutes. I think it's a very nice and encouraging thing that people are keeping on asking, because I believe that Sir has made some clarity in the mind of the interns, and it's good that you guys are asking questions. And I personally feel that these are some of the very healthy discussions which should be kept on happening, because you as maybe a student of law or a student of human rights or an intern should also understand that how it should not be only at a stage where we are talking about it, but then we have a power of implementation, we have a power of to strategize our maybe knowledge into the realities. So you have a number of things, maybe tools, legal tools, which you can use. For example, you can use RTIs for those matter where you feel that right to education or the particular things are not being implemented in the manner it should be. So you should change your process into actions for that matter. I think then only
Right.
we can drive or think of driving change. Uh, so I think that we have come to a conclusion, and I would like to give a vote of thanks to Banerjee sir to take out his time and give us a very insightful maybe session on right to work and right to education. I think that it has been one of those sessions which is very much needed to all those students who are aspiring to work in the field of human rights and understand the realities of it. With this, I would like to thank you so much, sir, to join to our program. Maybe all the interns are feeling very blessed to even have you on our forum. And we would always want you to stay connected to our organization, Legal Research and Analysis, since it's your first time with us. So I'm sorry that I could not invest much time on you, but then whatever time we had spent, I personally feel very touched with your maybe calmness and humbleness. With this, I would like to thank you on behalf of Legal Research and Analysis, and we put end to this particular session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Pranav. It was very exciting for me to answer all those questions and making it interactive one. I thank all the interns for joining, and I hope I've done some justice to whatever questions they've asked. Thank you for
Definitely,
inviting,
sir.
Pranav.
Definitely, sir.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining. You are good to go and take your leave. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ankita, I'm really sorry. Your mic was not maybe unmuted at that time. We couldn't take your question, but still, if you have any question to ask, you can ask. I can maybe address it. Ankita, do you hear us? I believe that you are struggling with the internet. Do you hail from UP? Because there is an internet shutdown there. I believe that a lot of interns are also saying about it. Maybe I'm
Maybe,
not.
sir, she is away
Uh,
from the mobile phone or the
Yes, yes,
source.
yes, yes. This can be a thing. Yeah, yeah. Okay, Rihanna, I think that you have done a very wonderful work to call Mr. Banerjee, because I was also not knowing that how good or maybe how things will get into at the end. So I'm really impressed with your work. Keep doing things like this and keep
Thank you,
calling
sir.
people who are actually the domain expert of their area. Thank you, Rihan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.